Today's lesson is called The Separation of Rangi and Papa. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
My name is Roger, and we've got a traditional story today. This is a story from the Maori in New Zealand, but I understand this is also a common story among peoples of the South Pacific Ocean. And it's a traditional story, and it's kind of like a creation story, right?
It sounds like it to me. There is a mention of a sky father and an earth mother. It sure sounds like a creation fable or tale to me. In fact, the first three words of our story will be in the beginning, which I believe are also the three words that kick off Genesis in the Bible, if you look in the King James Version of the Bible. And yes, Genesis would also be a creation story, the creation of the heavens and the earth and the universe, so on and so forth. I think Adam and Eve make an appearance as well, but we're not talking about the Bible today. We're talking about a tale featuring two characters. Well, there's going to be more than two characters, but specifically, we're talking about the separation of two characters named Rangi and Papa. And we'll get to this pretty soon. We'll start reading the story. But first, we're going to have to take a break. But yes, after the break, we'll start reading from our story. So don't go away.
The Separation of Rangi and Papa. In the beginning, there were the primordial parents, Rangi, the Sky Father, and Papa, the Earth Mother. Rangi and Papa loved each other so intensely that they remained in a constant state of embrace, never letting go of each other. Between the two, there was nothing but vast, illimitable darkness.
大家好，第一部分我们看到单字 primordial， 这个字是形容词，指原始的。远古的，例如 The primordial Earth was a lifeless and inhospitable environment. 原始地球是一个无生物且不适合居住的环境。再来，我们看到片语 let go of something or somebody， 表示放开放弃例如 When we watched the scary movie, Billy wouldn't let go of my hand. 当我们看那部恐怖片时 ，Billy 不肯放开我的手，或是Nadine let go of her need for constant reassurance from her peers. Nadine 对于必须永远寻求同侪认同的想法释怀了。接着我们看到单字 illimitable， 这个字是形容词，指无限的、无边无际的。举例来说 Harry was amazed by the scenery of illimitable plains outside the hotel. Harry 对饭店外无边无际的平原美景感到惊艳。
Okay, so the first paragraph here tells us about this story. It kind of sets the stage for us and introduces the main characters. So in the beginning, at the very beginning of time, there were the primordial parents, Rangi the Sky Father, and Papa, the Earth Mother. Okay, so these are the two people who started things off. Now, that's kind of confusing, at least for me, because the word papa in English and in many other languages will mean father. Okay, but here papa is actually the mother, the Earth Mother, whose name is Papa, and then you've got the Sky Father, whose name is Rangi.
Now, here's an interesting word. Primordial. Basically, this is a fancy word that means ancient, super old, before everything else, okay? The first. That's what primordial means, okay? When I think of this word primordial, I flash back to my 7th grade science classes where people used to talk about the primordial soup. Yeah, people used to think, where did life come from? And some people think it came from the primordial soup. On ancient Earth, there was thunder and lightning and certain molecules that came together and formed amino acids, and from that, life formed. That basic soup at the very beginning, they called that the primordial soup. That soup from which all life then came. And here we do have this word primordial once again, but we're not talking about science, we're talking about primordial parents, godlike figures like the Sky Father and the Earth Mother. And are they going to give life to the world as we know it? Let's read on and find out. It says here that Ronnie and Papa loved each other so intensely that they remained in a constant state of embrace, never letting go of each other. Now here, the word embrace means to hug. Now, you can also embrace something in a figurative sense. That means you can make it a part of your life in some way. But here, to embrace someone is to hug someone. So if they remained in a constant state of embrace, they basically hugged each other over and over again. And yes, here this word is being used as a noun, but you can also embrace someone and use it as a verb. So you can give someone an embrace, or you can embrace someone, i.e. give them a hug.
Right, so that was because they loved each other so intensely. They loved each other very much, and they just couldn't get enough of each other, and they were constantly holding each other, and they never let go of each other. So there's the phrase to let go of something, which means you release something. Hey, you're holding onto the bicycle and I want to ride it. Let go of it. Release it so that I can have the bicycle. So here, yeah, they never let go of each other, and between the two, there was nothing but vast, illimitable darkness. So nothing but. You could just say only. There was only vast, illimitable darkness. Now, this word illimitable here is not used very often. I would probably use the word limitless. That's probably more common. Just darkness that went on forever.
Yes, there is limitless darkness in this particular situation, but the connotation behind this word, illimitable, is slightly different. Basically, if something is illimitable, okay, you can't draw a boundary around it. So you can't say that it's limitless, but we're trying to also point to this fact that you can't draw a boundary or a line around that thing. You can't confine it in any way, shape, or form. Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
From their love, the couple had 6 sons, all of whom were gods. They were Tu, the god of war and human beings, Tafiri, the god of winds and storms, Tangaroa, the god of the sea and fish, Homia, the god of wild food, Rongo, the god of cultivated food, and Tane, the god of the forests and their inhabitants.
第二部分我们看到动词 cultivate 指耕种、种植、培育，例如Most farmers in the region cultivate grapes for wine. 那个地区大部分的农人栽种葡萄酿酒。或是 Mr. Brennan encourages his students to cultivate their critical thinking skills. Brennan 先生鼓励他的学生培养批判性思考的能力。另外，补充一个相关片语 cultivate one's passion 表示培养爱好、发展兴趣。举例来说Larry cultivates his passion for sports by playing both baseball and basketball. Larry 借由打棒球与篮球来培养对运动的喜好。
Okay, so remember we've got the Sky Father and the Earth Mother, Rangi and Papa. They are embracing forever. They never let go of each other. And between them, of course, there was nothing but illimitable darkness. And from their love, of course, they were able to produce lots of kids here. The couple had 6 sons, all of whom were gods.
Now, speaking of these sons, they were 2. The god of war and human beings, Tafiri, the god of winds and storms, Tangaroa, the god of the sea and fish, Homia, the god of wild food, Ronyo, the god of cultivated food, and Tane, the god of the forests and their inhabitants. So there you go. Those are the 6 sons. And it sounds like our creation myth is proceeding nicely. Now, here we've got some contrasts, okay? We've got the god of wild food and then the god of cultivated food, okay? So wild food is food that grows out in nature, and human beings had nothing to do with it whatsoever. I remember going out to my grandparents' cottage in Canada in the summers, and blueberries used to grow wild. There would be blueberry bushes that sprouted up throughout the forest there in the summer, and boy, were those blueberries ever delicious. Those were wild blueberries. That means they just grew out in the forest. They weren't cultivated. Yes, if you cultivate food, that means you make that food yourself, so to speak. Not by cooking it, but by planting seeds, let's say, and allowing those plants to grow by nurturing them, watering them, giving them fertilizer, so on and so forth, which has been made primarily by humans or with human help.
Right, so there's a god for those kinds of foods there, wild food and cultivated or harvested food. And then we've got Tane, who is the god of the forests and their inhabitants. And an inhabitant is a person who lives in a certain place. So basically, it's talking about the forests and all of the people who live there. The verb is to inhabit or to occupy a certain place, and you live in that certain place. Okay, I guess we are all inhabitants of Taiwan here. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's move on and continue talking about the story.
Confined to the cramped darkness between their parents, the sons yearned to know the light. They decided amongst themselves that a plan had to be made to separate the lovers. Being the fiercest of the 6 sons, 2 came up with the most extreme plan, to kill their parents. Tane proposed that they push Rangi and Papa apart instead. In this way, the sky will become a stranger to us, but the earth will stay close to us as a mother, he pleaded to his brothers.
第三部分，我们看到单字 confine 这个字是动词，指监禁、限制，像是 be confined to 加名词，表示被监禁、被关在……我们可以说 The actor's range isn't confined to romantic comedies. 那名演员的领域不只局限在浪漫喜剧。再来，我们看到动词 cramp 指限制、束缚，课文中为过去分词做形容词用，表示狭窄的、狭小的，像是 Alan lives in a small apartment and it felt very cramped when he held a party there. Alan 住在一间小公寓里，当他在家里办派对时感到非常受限。最后我们看到单字 yearn 这个字是动词，指渴望、渴求、盼望。举例来说 I yearn to experience that same excitement again. 我渴望再次体验那股相同的兴奋感。或是 What Kevin yearned for most during his time studying abroad was one of his grandma's homemade chocolate brownies. Kevin 在国外念书时最想念的就是奶奶自制的巧克力布朗尼。
Okay, so we've got the Sky Father, the Earth Mother, and then the 6 sons there. But then we only have darkness as well, okay? But hey, these sons, they're not going to stay where they are. They're going to get out and they're going to become who they are meant to be. So, confined to the cramped darkness between their parents, the sons yearned to know the light. They wanted to become the gods of earth and take their place. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about some vocabulary to be had in this sentence before we move on with our creation myth. If you are confined to a place, you are stuck there and you can't leave. Okay, so let's say you've done something bad. They might just confine you to a jail cell. That means you're stuck there, you can't leave, can't escape, you're there for a long time. But here, you don't have to be a bad person to be confined to a place. These gods are confined to this darkness between their parents because the Sky Father and the Earth Mother are in love, and between them, there is nothing but that darkness, because they are embracing each other nonstop.
Exactly. So here, as it says here in the third part, they're cramped in this cramped darkness. Cramped, of course, means kind of small and kind of crowded. For example, if you live in Tokyo, you might live in a very small apartment. And if you have a lot of stuff in there and quite a few people living in there, you could say that the apartment is cramped. So this is cramped darkness. It's dark and there isn't a lot of room to move around. And they're stuck between their parents and there isn't a lot of space. So you could imagine that they would want to get out of that situation. So they yearned to know the light. And if you yearn for something or yearn to do something, you really, really want that thing. You're dreaming about that thing. You hope that that wish will come true.
Yeah, it's nice to be here with good old mom and dad, but we want out. We want to know the light. That's what we yearn for. We have a strong desire for this thing. So they decided amongst themselves that a plan had to be made to separate the lovers. Yeah, mom and dad have to stop with this whole hugging thing. So, being the fiercest of the 6 sons, 2 came up with the most extreme plan to kill their parents. Roger, I can't believe my eyes. Did 2 just really come up with this plan to kill his parents?
It's not something that you would expect from the gods. They're supposed to be morally superior to us, but here we've got the god of war actually planning to kill his parents. Well, of course, Tane proposed that they push Rangi and Papa apart instead. So Tane here has a different sort of plan. We don't have to kill them. Okay, they can keep on living. Let's kind of separate them. Let's push them apart. Then there will be more space there, and there'll be less darkness, and it will be a better universe to live in.
Yeah, he says, in this way, the sky will become a stranger to us, but the earth will stay close to us as a mother, he, Tane, pleaded to his brother. So, the earth mother is going to become the earth, I guess, and the sky father is going to become the sky. Anyways, before we take a break, let's go ahead and talk about this word, plead. When you plead, you say, please, please help me. Or you ask in a very nice way, almost as though you're begging, but not quite.
Yes, don't kill them. This is a better solution here. Even though they'll be separate, still we'll all be able to survive and no one will get killed in the process. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分写到，天父地母非常的相爱，他们总是紧紧的相拥着，从不放开对方。 Between the two, there was nothing but vast, illimitable darkness. 在他们之间只有浩瀚无垠的黑暗。好，文中它用到 nothing but 是用来表达只有什么什么，只不过怎么样怎么样，就跟 only 的意思相同。 nothing but 后面是可以接人或是接事物。举例来说， There's nothing but an empty bottle in the box. 这个箱子里面只有一个空瓶子。好，再来看到故事里面的儿子们被困在父母之间的狭窄黑暗中，那他们就很想要拆散父母，以便能认识光。那么儿子 Two 他就想出计划是要杀害父母，但是另一个儿子 Tane 他有别的建议。 Tane proposed that they push Rangi and Papa apart instead. 好，那这边我们来学习 propose 的用法。 propose 当作提议建议来解释的时候呢，它的用法就跟动词 suggest 一样。好，那么句型有两种。第一种呢，我们用 propose 加上名词或动名词。例如 Ian proposed throwing a surprise party for Emma. Ian 提议要帮 Emma 办一个惊喜派对。第二个用法是propose 后面接 that 子句，那么这个 that 子句的结构是主词加上 should 再加原形动词，这个 should 可以省略不用，只保留后方的原形动词。好，那像课文就是这样的用法哦。Tane proposed that they push 点点点。这个句子的时态明明就是过去式，可是我们看到 that 子句里面它却是用原形动词 push， 就是因为 push 的前面省略了 should。好，那么其实英文还有许多适用这样的句型的动词，这些动词我们主要可以分成4个种类。第一个是来表达建议提议，除我们说的 propose、suggest， 还有 advise， 还有 recommend。那么第二个类型是表达强烈要求，表达请求，像是 ask、demand、request、require。第三个类型是表达命令，像是 command、order。第4个类型是表达坚决要求，像是 insist。好，那我们来造个例句。The man demanded that I should apologize to him。也可以说 The man demanded that I apologize to him。那名男子要求我向他道歉。好，那另外要提醒同学们是，当 insist 它表示坚持要求、坚决认为的时候，这时候它才适用这种 insist that 主词加上 should 再加动词的句型哦。好，如果 insist 是表达坚称的话，那就必须把它当作一般动词来用。我们来看一组例句比较清楚。Her parents insisted that she should go see a doctor， 也可以说 she go see a doctor。 她爸妈坚决认为她一定要去看医生。换一个例句，我们可以说 He insists that the money belongs to him。 他坚称那一笔钱是他的。那这时候 insist 就不适用于我们刚刚介绍那个接 that 子句的句型咯。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Embrace. Theo held his newborn daughter tightly in a loving embrace. Cultivate. The people of this village cultivate mainly rice, beans, and corn. Inhabitant. The inhabitants of this island don't have access to many modern conveniences. Confine. To your left, you'll see the camp where enemy soldiers were confined during the war. Yearn. Seeing photos of her family made Samantha yearn to return home. Plead. Bob pleaded with Bianca to reconsider filing for divorce.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you guys enjoyed reading and learning along with us. I am Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.